This is a 1970 Toyota Corona, and we're going to bag it with Airlift Performance Builder Series. So we're here at Greswells with Josh Greswell. He's built a whole load of cool cars, some really low. So we've got high hopes for this one. There's actually three things I want to achieve with it. One of them is make it as low as possible. The second is make it comfortable to drive, because at the moment it isn't very good to drive. And number three is be sympathetic to the car. It's a 1970s vehicle, so it's lasted this long. I want it to last a lot longer. So Josh, what are the first steps here?
Well, first of all, we'll get it on the ramp, have a look what we're dealing with, see what sort of suspension it's running. From there, we'll know how much space we've got for bags, etc. And then from there, we can go to the builder sheet and see what we got.
Perfect. Okay, so you may have noticed that we pushed the car in rather than drive it, and that's because it's empty. The engine's out of it at the moment because I had a problem with the last engine. Josh has got a new one to put back into it. Under the car now, we can see what's going on. What have we got, Josh? It looks a bit like a double wishbone-y sort of setup.
Yeah, so we've got a double wishbone. So you've got a wishbone here, wishbone at the top. This car utilizes the shock through the middle of the spring, which is located here. And that's pretty simple, really. It's a bit like an old 60s or 70s pickup truck, really. It's pretty much the same.
Just shrunk.
Yeah, pretty the same.
So, is this ideal? Is it bad? Is it good? What are we dealing with?
Well, until we pull it apart, we won't know if this is good or bad for us. But to be honest, it's looking better for us because we don't have to mount a shock separately to the arms. So it's all combined into one piece.
So we could potentially use a bag and shock integrated, one unit, in we go.
Yeah. As long as clearance provides, we can get it in there and it'll be great.
Cool. So now we're at the rear of the car. This is the back axle. What are we dealing with on this end?
So we've got a leaf spring car. So this is the leaf spring here. This is your axle. This sort of holds the car together, makes the axle center. And to be honest, we can't really put bags on this, so we've got to change it up.
Okay, so we're removing the leaf springs entirely?
Yes, if we get rid of the leaf springs, that's good. We can put a bag in here somewhere, but we will need to locate the axle. So what we're gonna do is, I think, without cutting the car up, the best option for us is to make a 2-link setup. So we have a link bar coming from this shackle here, all the way to the axle, and then we'll put an adjustable panel bar in there to stop the axle moving left and right.
Okay, so you've mentioned two types of link there. One is the 2-link, so it's 1 link, 2 links. That stops it going backwards and forwards, right?
Yes.
And this panhard, what does that do? Centralizes the axle?
Yes, so when you go up and down with the car, it's gonna naturally wanna go left and right. So you need something to stabilize the axle into the center position. So the panhard bar goes from the axle straight to the body of the car. That'll keep the axle center and straight and true.
So at the moment, it looks like we've got some quite long shocks that go up into like a recess in the body and down to this lower shackle. How are we going to do the shocks on our bag setup?
So that's in our favor really, because we want to get the car really low, but we still want it to lift as well. So the longer the shock for us is better. We can still utilize the original shock mounts we've got underneath here. We've got these drop blocks here. They'll also work in our favor. And there's also a lot of room for the strut as well. So that will be pretty decent if we just use the original stuff.
Okay, very good. Nice and sympathetic.
Yeah, pretty easy. We don't want to cut the car up. We want to just keep everything like stock looking chassis wise. So if we do want to go back to standard in future, it's pretty easy to do so.
Okay, Josh, so one last magic question.
Right.
How low do you think it's going to go?
Well, the chassis is the limit. As far as it will go without cutting, I'll get it there.
We've got one hand.
Yeah. There's a good 8 inches of drop there that we can get, so I'm absolutely fine with that.
I'm excited. So with an infinite amount of possibilities and configurations, how do you start to narrow down to know what we're going to order?
Well, to start with, I'd go on the website, have a look what parts are available for us, take a few basic measurements from there, take it over to the car, and then I can start visualizing what we can actually use.
Okay, so you're working with what is available, what is possible, and then you come back to refine.
Yeah, it gives you a better understanding before you start looking at it, because it just makes things a little bit easier for you.
Okay, and this has got all of the open, close measurements, everything you need to get started.
Yeah, eyelet to eyelet, full compression, width for the bag, everything you need. It's all on the website, and you can just go on there and find it yourself.
Perfect.
Okay, so obviously Ryan said we need to lower the car a lot, and I agree. So if we look here, the axle is gonna raise up towards this chassis rail. There's a factory bump stop here. We're gonna get rid of this because that's a good 2 to 3 inches of travel there for free. We just need to measure from the axle to the chassis to see how much range we've got. And that is just over 8 inches. Right, so to measure the shocks, you do measure from eyelet to eyelet. Now in our instance, we don't have a top eyelet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a shock mount at the top. So for measurement's sake, we're gonna say that this is the eyelet up here. That's 18 inches. So now we've got the measurement for that. We need to measure around the area. So make sure we've got enough room for the bag itself, because you don't want any rubbing around here. So now we've got the measurements around there. We can roughly tell what we need. We can go to the builder sheet and we can see what we've actually got to order. Right, so you just saw me there pulling the spring and shock out. We just wanted to see how far the suspension will actually go. So right here, we've got the ideal height that we want the car to be. Now, I've had a look at the builder sheet. I want to run a certain strut, but for this car, there's not a lot of space around the bag. So we are gonna run the strut inverted, but we do want that extra bit of drop for this car in particular. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna modify the lower control arm, drop the mounting point 2 inches lower, and then we're gonna have a better ride quality and overall height.
Okay, so we've had a discussion, decided on the best compromise, ordered our kit from Airlift. Josh, you've got some fabrication work to do in preparation for that kit being assembled. So we'll leave them in peace. Next time you see us, we should have our kit delivered.